Having called the meeting to order, I'd like to ask Councilmember Riley Bettis, if he would please, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then an invocation for council. Please stand if you would like to join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for blessing us to be able to exercise our God-given freedoms. Please guide and direct us tonight and always to act as you would have us act, to treat others as we would want to be treated, and to always remember that the glory for anything we accomplish goes to you. Asking your continued blessings for our city, our state, and our country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I'd like to welcome you this evening to our City Council meeting. We meet the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month, and would be glad to have you back at any time. That being said, we do have an unusually large crowd tonight because we have got a number of special recognitions that we're going to make throughout the course of the evening tonight. And so want to just make you aware of that, since I know that we've got some folks that have small children that need to get home and eat and get to bed before too late and get some homework done. Possibly we will recess just a little bit as we get through some of these and give you an opportunity to slip out if you're so inclined. So we will do that to make it easy on everybody. But in order to keep the meeting moving, we will do that as expeditiously as we can. We set aside a time at the first of each meeting for public forum. That is a time for those people that would like to address council regarding an issue that is on the agenda to do so. Tonight we have one person that has requested to speak. That is Mr. Darrell Ponder. Mr. Ponder, the podium is yours, sir. I would only ask that you state your name and address as a matter of record for us, so we'll have it recorded, and to be considerate of the time spent at the podium, sir. The floor is yours.
My name's Kenneth Darrell Ponder. I live at 1613 Old Highway 14 South, Greer, South Carolina, 29651, and I've lived there for 30 years this month. I'm here today to oppose, I brought a petition with me, to oppose the annexation and the rezoning of 1625, 1627 Old Highway 14 South, and 1418, 1420 South Buncombe Road. The reason for that is that it joins my property on one side, and I really don't want to see tractor trailers parked in my backyard. And neither does a lot of other people. There's 55 people on that petition I brought up here, and just so maybe you'll understand it a little bit better, Pleasant Grove Baptist Church on South Buncombe Road at 14, from there all the way down to 80, there's 29 houses on Old Highway 14 South, including Farmer's Circle and Smith Court, because they don't have no other way of getting out except going Old Highway 14 South. There's 35 houses there. I've about got the majority of the people. And I've noticed on the ordinances, which is 18 and 19, 2021, it says that the 100% petition to annex and rezone, I believe that 100% petition is 2 people. I might be wrong in that, but 55 outweighs 2. Nobody really wants this in the neighborhood. They got enough trouble with tractor trailers now. They're out of hand. They've been out of hand for years. They come off 80. They travel up Old Highway 14 South, cut right on South Buncombe Road. They very rarely use 80 like they're supposed to. They cut from 14 over. They cut from South Suber up. They're always cutting through the neighborhood all the time. We have to listen to them. We have to hear them. And it's basically 18 to 24 hours a day we hear them. And just like at one terminal, we can hear them load and unload all night long. You hear them bounce all the time. You can hear the backing up, the whole 9 yards. The infrastructure of that area is not suited to this because it just keeps getting more and more people, more and more tractor trailers into the area. Dump trucks cutting through. We don't need anything else like this in there. Nobody wants it. And if you want more names on a petition, I'll be glad to get them for you because right now I had a short amount of time to get this together. This recently just went in front of Greenville County. It was denied. So they came to the city of Greer to get it annexed and rezoned that way, just as they did 14 years ago. It went in front of the county then, and it went in front of the city of Greer then too. And it's what it is now. I really don't have anything else to say about this except that we don't want it, and we don't want to see it or hear it or smell it. I mean, you can get up in the early morning hours, especially in the fall and winter, and you can actually smell diesel fuel floating over the neighborhood when they crank them up and let them warm. It's a bad situation that we're having to deal with, and it's actually destructing the entire neighborhood and the community. And most of the people who live in that neighborhood, some of them are in the 3rd and 4th generations, and I expect some of them in the 5th. And nobody wants to deal with this. It's annexation we're really not that worried about. It's the rezoning to industrial or service, whichever way the case may run here. I noticed there was a comment about it's going from industrial 1 to service 1. I'm not sure which way it's going, but we'd like this not to happen. And if you want more petitions, I'll be glad to get them for you. I really don't have anything else to say. If there's any questions you want to ask me, I'll be glad to answer them best of my ability right now.
Thank you, sir. We set aside this time for comment, and we appreciate your comment.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Council, contained in your packet this evening is the minutes of our last council meeting held on March the 23rd, 2021. I'll entertain a motion that those be received. Second. Motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. As I mentioned, we've got some special recognitions to make this evening. And the first of those is the City of Greer Tomahawk Youth Wrestling Medalists. We're going to recognize some of the members of the Tomahawk Youth Wrestling Medalist team for their achievements this season. And I saw them outside having their pictures made, and they look like a rough and tumble group. So So let me tell you a little bit about the City of Greer Tomahawk Youth dedication to this program. And Coach, if you want to come on up now and join me, then we're going to recognize these boys. And maybe girls, but I think all boys. Yep, cross here. Up here. Anywhere. All right, excuse me, we're having a little technical difficulty this evening. The first person that I'd like to recognize this evening is Austin Davis. Austin is the state champion in the 6 and under heavyweight. Austin looks like he's all business. Corey Barnett, he won the state in the 8 and under heavyweight division. Gatlin Barr won state in the 10 and under 90 pounds weight division. River Hicks Rice was the state runner-up in the 6 and under 54-pound division. Good job. And Cooper Levinson was the state runner-up in the 12 and under heavyweight division. Congrats. I know we've recognized these fellows individually, but how about a round of applause for them? All I really want to say is we really appreciate the city of Greer and their athletic department for organizing everything that we need to do. They put us in a facility, they give us time, they give us a mat, and they allow us to compete. We actually had a wrestling meet in this room one time this year. It's pretty neat. But all I gotta say is these kids work their tails off. One of our main quotes this year was an individual can win a state title, but they can't do it alone. So there's like 30 other kids in our wrestling room that help these kids get to where they're at. And those kids really deserve a little recognition too. So we appreciate everything the whole city did and the athletic department has done for us. And we'll be back next year. I look forward to seeing you. I want to recognize our folks from the recreation department back there. Y'all will raise your hands and work closely, as Coach said, to facilitate the season for these young men. I think it's exciting this evening that we get to recognize the the youth wrestling team, and then the next thing on the agenda is to recognize the winners from our jury art exhibit. I think it speaks to the diversity of our programming and the folks that provide that programming. And we've got people from the Recreation and Cultural Arts Department with us this evening, and it is particularly gratifying to see the many different offerings that we're able to do in this community to try and meet as many needs as we possibly can. And always exciting when we're able to give special recognition to those folks that have participated in the programming and have achieved some level of excellence. We want to recognize the folks tonight from our jury art exhibit. I'm not positive how many years we've done this at this point, but
12 years.
or
12.
12 years we've done this. And what a great time that we have had doing this. The theme this year was history, industry, and scenery. And as you may have seen out in the area here or outside of the chambers, we have some great pieces of art out there. And we would certainly encourage everyone that took place to continue to enter. It seems like every year we get more and more entries and a wider and wider variety of entries as well too. Several years ago, and I guess it's been 5 or 6, I lose track of time sometimes, and my wife and I were at a conference in Washington, D.C., and had the opportunity to spend a little time one afternoon in the Smithsonian. There's no way of getting through what they call the Smithsonian in any reasonable amount of time, but we were interested in an exhibit that we had seen advertised by the lady who at the time was the national artist for documenting things that come into the Smithsonian. And obviously, I don't think that she could document everything that possibly came in there, but there was a large collection of her work which had been cataloged through the years, everything from plants to jet engines and you name it. And I thought about how hard that would be to be able to have that kind of ability. And I didn't realize until we got there and I saw the write-up about the artist, a lady that had spent years perfecting her art. She had lost an eye as a child, but it had created these incredibly detailed drawings in all different kinds of mediums. And it made me think about the fact that our perspectives are all individual and unique. And so in a show like this, we have people that have chosen to use various different mediums to show what their perspective of history or industry or scenery may be here in the city of Greer. And we all come to various places with different ways that we recognize it and see it and understand it. And to see that interpreted in art, I think, is great for our community. And so I appreciate the folks that have participated. We want to recognize those people, and we will do it like this. We are going to start this evening with our students. So we have tonight a special appreciation that goes to a student by the name of Shiloh Osoro. place is Ellen Carpenter. Third place is Ashley Cole. Ashley is bringing the second place winner, who is also Ashley Cole. So, thank you for being part of this program. And our first place winner in the student division is Abigail Nathalie. Thank you, Abigail. Appreciate you, man. You'll give her a big round of applause. Thank you. We appreciate it. We should have told Mama to turn around. She had one at the front and one at the back. Let's go to photography. We have a special appreciation this evening. Mac Loftus. Mac, would you join us, please, sir? Fourth place in photography is Tom Evatino. Both participating. Third place, Mac Loftus. Thank you, Mac. Second place, Mac Loftus. He and Tom present us with a lot of stuff, so we appreciate it. And also in second place is Blaine Owens. Mr. Owens, we thank you for participating. And our winner, first place winner, is Rachel Babb. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it. Let's give these folks a big round of applause. Thank you. We appreciate it. There is a cash stipend for our winners in the various different categories, and I was told to tell you all the checks in the mail. So, for our Best in Show, we have a special appreciation to Carol Rogers. Carol, thank you. We appreciate it. I'll slide over. We got 3 or 4 others, and hopefully they'll join us. Special appreciation to Nana Iatesta. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Fourth place goes to Christina Laurel. Thank you. Third place goes to Juan Vijay. assumed everyone would have stayed around for the administrator's report, but apparently not. Mr. Merriman, the floor is yours, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm as shocked as you are that we couldn't keep these folks in. Real quick, nothing, all good stuff. First of all, just want to remind Council of the International Festival being held on the 17th. This weekend between 11 and 3, Greer goes global. I know we've got 42 vendors and did we say 7 countries represented? Was that approximately? Okay. So if you're in town, I highly encourage you to do that. This, of course, is on the heels of what we're hoping to be another successful Dine on Trade. We've had, we rained out last weekend, so just remember Dine on Trade as well on Friday night. The Kids Planet dedication, the Benson Kids Planet dedication will be on Friday at 11 a.m. We've already had a soft opening. I say soft opening because once it looked like it was open for business, it was open for business. So we're excited to see that already being used, but let's make it official this Friday at 11. Another reminder is that Spring Cleaning Day, the amnesty day, if you will, for solid waste will be held on the 24th at the recycling center. So this is a list of things that we'll take will be available on the city's website. And if you have any other questions, of course, we can reach out to our Public Services Department and they can guide you in the direction that any citizen needs to go about what can and cannot be brought on that day. And finally, just as a reminder, we're excited to announce that we will be continuing Freedom Blast this year. It will be held on June 26th. And so right back here in our beautiful city park. So we're glad to have it back after a year off. So with that, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Council, let's move to old business. Only item of old business this evening is the second and final reading of ordinance number 13-2021. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Palmetto State Capital LLC located at 229 East Church Street from RM to RM2. Mr. McMahon joins us. Any new or additional information in regards to ordinance number 13-2021?
No, sir.
Comes without any new or additional information. I'll entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to items of new business, the first of which is the bid summary from the golf course regarding the front 9 fairway sprigging and remedial shaping. Mr. Red Watson from our Parks and Recreation Department joins us for that discussion. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of council for the opportunity to present these bid results to you. As you just mentioned, this is for our fairway sprigging and remedial shaping on the front 9 holes of the golf course, similar to what we did last year. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting back in March. There was one qualified bidder, which was Landscapes Unlimited. When we opened bids, as you see on the bid summary, their bid was $260,285.09 with alternates of $11,475 and $7,040 or $62.70. 2 options there for that one item. Our architect actually reviewed the bid and found that some of their quantities that they had estimated at were a little high. So after revisiting those, we got the numbers back from them, and the true bid was $249,280 for the project, with alternates of $11,475 and $7,040 or $6,270. We reviewed the information contained in the proposal, and we recommend awarding the bid to Landscapes Unlimited for all items except for one item in their bid, bunker fill inside, something that we feel that we'll do at a later date. This would put their bid at $248,235 with about $11,000 for contingency. Again, very similar to what we did last year. Last year was basically just sprigging grass. This does involve a little bit of grading on 3 of the holes out there that have pretty severe drainage issues. We feel very good about Landscapes Unlimited. They're a very prestigious company. As you can see, they've worked on courses such as Augusta National that hosted the Masters last year, Pinehurst number 6, and the Atlanta Athletic Club, and then several courses throughout the state, including the Reserve at Lake Kiowee, the Walker course at Clemson University, and the Palmetto course in Augusta. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Council comes with a recommendation from staff. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So move.
Motion is second. Floor is open for discussion.
This company's, they don't have local offices?
They have a field rep that works out of Greenville, and I think that they have them in Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, and North Carolina to cover the southeast.
Much golf is played in this state. You would think there would be a company that did this.
There are several golf construction companies. I think there must be plenty of work to go around. We were surprised to see one person at the mandatory pre-bid. But I think as the economy has picked back up and golf activity has ramped back up, more courses are starting to invest more money now and probably lend a little bit of a hand in that.
Others?
I've heard good things about the improvements that we're making.
Yep.
Looks like we're on the right track, and I think once we get this side finished, I think it'll be the icing on the cake.
Yeah, this will really open the doorway for us to start hosting tournaments, bringing larger events in there that we haven't been able to do so far because we've had 9 holes shut down last year, and then we'll have 9 holes shut down this year. But going into the spring of next year, we feel like we'll be at 100% then.
Great. Others? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Watson, and I see Ms. Cunningham back there. Again, kudos to the staff. Great job, not only with taking on the golf course, but what I said about the programming, I sincerely meant. It's amazing to me that y'all are able to provide as much programming and different types of programming as we do. But it is an amenity that this city cherishes and thinks a lot of, and appreciates y'all's work in that regard. And I know one of the ladies that is taking an archery class appreciates it as well too. So we offer a little bit of everything. So thank y'all very much for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
Mr. McMahon joins us again for the second item of new business, which is the first reading of ordinance number 15-2021. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of properties owned by William Howard and William Wilson located on Gap Creek Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification for DRD for said property. Mr. McMahon, do you want to give us an overview in that regard, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is, as you said, an annexation request for 2 parcels, consist of roughly 84 acres. The request for the DRD is to do up to 210 lots, would be a mix of single-family attached and detached. Here's a current aerial view of the site. This roughly is adjacent to the middle school. Here's the current zoning of the area. In the future land use map, this is a suburban neighborhood community. Here's the current street view. And here's their proposed layout. They will have 2 access points on Gap Creek. They will have no access off of 14. In their statement of intent, they have the typical material of hardy plank, stone. 2 materials will be used. If they are going to use vinyl, we have that minimum requirement of 0.46 millimeters. The applicant or the developer of the project has brought to the attention that he would like to donate this portion of the property to the city of Greer for future use for recreational activities. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this on March 15th and did make a recommendation to approve the DRD zoning request. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Based on that recommendation from staff, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
On the proposed development plan that they have submitted, is the dashed line that's on the left side, is that the area that we're talking about as far as being, it says pond and
Yes, sir. It's to the south of those lots that are down at the bottom. I believe it's roughly 24 acres, I believe.
say again where it is they're talking about?
If you're looking, you'll kind of see this solid line right here. That's a proposed trail system they have internal to their site. I've got a pointer right here. I apologize. So right here is the proposed trail system. Everything below here, with I believe the exception of 1 acre that fronts 14, they would like to donate to the city of Greer. Once that donation is done, staff will bring this back to you to have the property rezoned. Since it is going to be zoned as a DRD, we would bring it back with a request for probably an RS or an R20.
Others?
Is this across the street from where the other big subdivision is going in, or is it a little bit further?
It's probably a couple hundred yards.
I went by it this week to take a look at that site, and it's incredible the progress they're making right across from the golf course. And then, you know, once this project gets started, there really will be a lot happening in that area, and it's gonna really change the complexion in this area. But I'm really appreciative of the developer's effort to think about cooperating with the city long term and giving us that parcel for those recreational purposes, because we've talked about that long term with the connectivity with the golf course and Country Club Park and some of those other areas for that long term goal of ours to have some type of trail system. Just, we're really excited about what's to come there. So appreciative for them to cooperate with us and put a really nice development on the ground in that area too.
Is that park included in the 84 acres, or is that separate from the 84?
It's currently a part of the 84 acres. I guess the donation would have to be worked out with a development agreement, so we're bringing it forward as the total annexation of 84 acres.
I agree with Lee. I really appreciate that thought and, you know, them bringing that to the table. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Is there any frontage on 14 and what they're talking about in the donation?
There is some frontage on 14. Right here is the part that they are planning to donate to the city, and I believe this is roughly 1 to 2 acres that they will maintain.
Gotcha.
Is that floodplain?
Yes, sir. The majority of this right here is all floodplain, and then this is a pond that's on site.
This is not. About this going forward, and obviously all this, most of this is not.
What's the portion outlined in like water blue?
The blue, this is a pond or a lake that they have on the property, and these are creeks leading to other water areas, to wetlands.
The other property in there that's outlined with the blue around it. Slow down towards.
Right here?
The blue is the river.
All in there.
That's the Tiger River.
Oh,
I believe.
okay. But the upper part there is what you said they're donating to the city.
Yes, ma'am. The
Everything
orangest part.
Orange.
Comments? Questions? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, item number 3 this evening is the first reading of ordinance number 16-2021. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Bruce and Donna Davidson located at 1785 East Poinsett Street by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of I-1 for said property. Mr. McMahon.
Yes, sir. This parcel roughly is 6.6 acres, and as you stated, the request is for I-1. The applicant will be going to Planning Commission next Monday for the public hearing. Here's an aerial view of the property. This piece right here, they will be bringing before you next meeting. This is already in the city in Zone C3. They're going to also request to have that rezoned at the next meeting for I-1 as well. Here's the current zoning map of the area and the future land use map. The property lies within a mixed employment center. And here's the current street view. And that's all the information that I have for the annexation, sir.
Would you go back one slide, please?
That hashed line is the airport environs.
Okay, I was looking, that's the CSX railroad dissecting the middle of the property there, or piece of property.
This is the property, I believe that is CSX. CSX is the northern line. This comes as first reading, and I am sorry. Before we go any further, council, first reading of 15-2021. Is an owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? If so, indicate by raising your hand. Okay. So let me move forward then in regards to the ordinance from Mr. Bruce and Donna Davidson. Are the owners or representative of the owners with us this evening? Indicate so by raised hands. Okay. If there are questions you can answer or help us with, we'll call on you. Thank you for being here. This comes with the recommendation of staff. The request is to go to Planning Commission for the public hearing. Will be next Monday, so we'll come back to you for second reading with the recommendation from Planning Commission.
Okay.
The request is for I-1.
Comes as is, as you see there. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
Second.
And a second. Now the floor is open for discussion. Questions?
Is staff's recommendation to Planning Commission going to be approved?
For I-1, staff is recommending I-1 for this property because it is within the environs and it's very limited in the use that can take place there.
Says it's going to be an asphalt plant?
That's what the applicant has proposed with us. He has not submitted any plans at this time.
Would anyone like to address this situation? The owners? No?
You have any specific questions?
What type of process is going to happen on this site?
Mark Benz, I'm a site designer, we're the engineers for the site and surveyors. It's an asphalt batch plant. So it'll be creation of asphalt and trucks loading it in and out.
And you're going to be trying to grab an adjacent parcel as well?
Yes, the slender piece is what's being annexed now. The other bigger square there above the road is already in the city. And it's the request to change it to an I-1 zoning is going through Planning Commission as well. So, yeah, they're kind of tied together, but one of them's already in the city, and this one just needs to be annexed. So,
What about being in the environment zone? Do you have to
yeah, we will have to get the GSP's approval for the airport environs. And I think we've had some preliminary, the owners had some preliminary discussions with them, and it doesn't appear to be an issue because we're not that tall, and it's a day type use. It's not a residence or anything like that, and that's usually what they're concerned with as far as the Environs Commission.
Others?
Will this, your client, will they be utilizing the railroad transport?
Not that I'm aware of. There's a good bit of grade change between our site and down to the railroad, so it's really probably not feasible to use the railroad.
Is it an independent plant that will be selling to road pavers, or is it?
I believe they have multiple locations, but it's,
You got reinforcements coming behind you there.
I'll answer this question. I'm Wade Kennard. I'm with Palmetto Corp. is the name of the company, and we'll be the one putting the asphalt plant. So I'm sorry, what was the last question?
You are just a production company, you don't do paving?
No, we are a paving company.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do both production and some sales, if anybody that wants to buy it, but a lot of it will be for our own use.
Other questions?
Well, I guess the elephant in the room is, how does this treat the environment right there? I mean, is it an environmentally clean thing?
Yeah, we don't have any issues. We have to have an environmental engineer do the calculations for any particulate that may get in the air and make sure it stays on property. So it's not a non-environmental or unfriendly environmental issue that we have in any of our
It does have
plants.
emissions.
It does have particulate emissions, yes.
Stinks.
I'm sorry?
Does it stink?
No, there's not really much of a smell.
I'm going to assume that this is the same, or at least similar type of operation that Ashmore Brothers has on Highway 14. Is that correct or not?
Probably, yes, they have an asphalt plant.
Would it be similar in size?
I
Or
don't
maybe
know.
maybe not as large?
Yeah, I don't know the size of that plant, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
When the other property is brought in, it'll just be part of the same business as asphalt?
Yes. The properties they're currently all owned by the Davidsons, who is on the list here. So that's why it's all part of the same property. They're just listed as different parcels right now.
How many employees you have, not just the folks who operate the plant, plus you should have equipment operators, things like that, going out to project sites?
Yes, for the plant itself, there's maybe 10. For the total operation, it could be. We're just now moving into the area, so it could be 100 plus. We've got about 600 statewide.
And that's new hire?
I'm sorry.
That's new hires?
New hires for this area, yes. Depending on how large we grow or how much asphalt we can put down. Our paving crews are about 12 people each crew. We could easily see multiple paving crews coming out of this plant.
Other questions, comments? Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate the
Thank you.
information. Helpful. Brandon, access to 80 from this particular site is just to the,
Believe 80 would be headed back this way.
back that way? Okay.
Because I believe this is Robinson, so it's headed back this way.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's down almost across from the old laboratory site then.
Yes, there's kind of like a strip mall if you're headed down East Point Set that's kind of right in this area. I believe there's a couple of shops in.
Exactly, you're right. Others, comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, let's move to the first reading of ordinance number 17-2021. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Roger Massengale located on North Dobson Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of R10 for said property. Mr. McMahon.
Yes, sir. The applicant is requesting to annex the property in. It's roughly 9.7 acres. They are requesting the R10 zoning for a future subdivision. Here's an aerial view of the property. Just to give you a point of reference, this is Arlington Road right here. Here's the current zoning and the future land use map. This property lays next to traditional neighborhood community. And here's the current street view. This will go to Planning Commission for a public hearing on April 19th. And that is all the information that I have at this time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And for the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive. Seven. Got a tie there. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Floor is open for discussion. Questions?
I'm sorry, how many units did you say would be here?
They can do roughly 42 with the acreage they have.
It's just one way in and out.
Yes, sir. They'll just have one access point onto North Dobson right here.
Questions? Comments?
Is that comparable to the development that's next door? Is it also R10?
Believe the one next door is R12.
But they also have the one access point. It probably doesn't add a lot of units because it's a small site.
Yes, sir. That's an older neighborhood. They just have the one access point.
Any further discussion? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council has moved to the first reading of ordinance number 18-2021. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of properties owned by Jones Kids Investments and Durham Kids Investments located at 1625 and 1627 Old Highway 14 by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of I-1 for said property. Mr. McMahon?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff has had a conversation with the applicants today. They are requesting to amend their I-1 request and request Council amend the ordinance to S1. This will go to Planning Commission on April 19th for a public hearing. Here is the current aerial view of the property. These two parcels right here face Old 14. Ordinance 19 will be these three parcels right here. Here's the current zoning for the area. You have S1 right here. The majority of this that is in the county is R15 to RS in the county. This is within our mixed employment center. Staff felt that with the transition as we head back towards the traditional neighborhood communities that we have, that I-1 was too much of an intense use, so we made the recommendation and the applicant has also agreed with the S1 request. As I stated, this will go to Planning Commission for a public hearing on April 19th, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So
Floor is open for discussion.
You go back. So it's only frontage on, is that Old Highway 14, right?
These two parcels only have access to 14, Old Highway 14. Ordinance 19 is this parcel, and this parcel. So they would have to get an encroachment permit for whatever they do, whichever side.
So it would really run from Buncombe through to Old 14, correct?
Yes, ma'am. If both properties, or if all of it were to be annexed in, it would run from this point to here, then kind of back up that way.
Now, are they going to be conducting a business out here? It says for storage. Where is their main business?
Their main business right here, this is STI Service Transport. So what they are requesting a trucking terminal for a laydown yard for tractor trailers. None of that has been submitted. They are right now just requesting for the S1 zoning at this time.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Thank you. We'll call upon you if we need to. Questions?
What kind of screening would be required on the perimeter if all this is annexed?
Adjacent to residential property, they have to have a 6-foot screening. So it could either be done with an opaque fence, privacy fence, or with landscaping.
And the proposed use is trailer storage?
Yes, sir. It's trailer storage.
What hours will they be operating?
The applicant is here. Would prefer to have them come up because I'm not sure of their operations, sir.
Like that, would somebody like to address questions from council?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I am Phil Durham, and I are the principals of Service Transport and Greer boys. So, any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
What are your planned hours of operation?
Pardon?
Planned hours of operation?
Daylight. May run into 9 o'clock at night. Our intention is we've got right at 18 acres across the street. We're 20 acres across the street. And we've basically just run out of parking. We've got another drop yard over on Highway 14 that we use. Across from that, we got about 9 acres there. So our plans are to take the less frequented trailers, put them on this property, and then the stuff that's coming and going stay on the 20 acres. It's basically out of space. It's right across the street from us. You got a company called Nifty Lift, which I think is in the city. It's right beside it. On the 014 side, we've got Swafford Transportation, which is, I guess, what Mr. Ponder was referring to 14 years ago. And Van was basically annexed, or Swafford was annexed into the city back then.
All of that area on Buncombe as well as 14 is really kind of a big mix. I mean, businesses on one side of Buncombe and residential, some residential and businesses on the other side.
I think actually on the Buncombe right there, after it leaves Old Highway 14, Mr. Ponder's property is probably maybe one of 2 residentials that are still on the street. Everything else is commercial. You know, and he is right. Some people do use it as a in and out. You know, our intentions and what we've always done since 1993 when we built our facility there is if you come to our facility now, when you get to the end of the driveway, there's a big old sign up there with no right turn. So our drivers are required to exit to the left and go back to Highway 80. We never allow any trucks of ours to go by Mr. Ponder's house. And if we see them or have any reports of it, then we address it with the drivers. So everybody knows that's a no-no. You know, we try to be as, we kind of view the residential as more toward the church. And also back down Old Highway 14, I mean, Van or Swafferty almost owns the whole road now, so I understand he bought some more property that'll be the same thing, warehousing. So it's going that way. That's the big negative. Wherever you're at, it's going commercial, and we just happen to be part of and it's extremely convenient for us. Our shop and some other properties that we have are directly across the street. Our terminal's directly across the street, so it'll save us some effort from going across. But we will not be exiting the property and coming back toward Pleasant Grove.
I can appreciate that requirement that you make of your drivers for sure. Have you had any trouble enforcing that, consistently enforcing that with your drivers? Or to your knowledge, your drivers have
No, I'm
been
the boss.
consistent in that. I get it.
It's a Brent rule.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, it's a Brent rule. I don't run the trucking company. Phil and I are somewhat absentee, but we're there, and everybody knows we're there. And, certain things, I'm sure they break the rules, but that's not allowed,
On the site itself, is it going to be mostly just paved over for storage?
Yeah, it'll just be parking for tractor trailers.
So
period.
no structures necessarily?
Zero. And our plans are, we'll put it in the kids' trust, so, if y'all have problems in the future, to be them, because Phil and I'll be out of here. I mean, that's our plans, is just to leave it for the kids, and also just to have it as a drop yard. We don't have any desire to do anything different, or it's pretty basic. There's not a whole lot to it. And we are, I guess, on that bunkum, Mr. Ponder's probably one of the few that's not in the city of Greer.
Brandon,
that I'm aware of.
on the surrounding properties that are in the city, what is the annex? What's the zoning, the overall zone?
So right here, this is in the city, this is all I-1, the dark blue is I-1, the light blue is S1, and kind of this part, this is the orchard up there just past the water tower.
Yes.
Brandon, would you just give us a brief overview of the difference between I-1 and S1, please, sir?
Yes, sir. I-1. S1 is more of your service type use, similar to like a lay-down yard, air-conditioned storage, stuff like that. I-1 is your more intense use of manufacturing, could be chemical, asphalt type company. You can have an SOB in I-1. You can't have that in S1. You have fabrication, salvage yards. Those are kind of your I-1 uses. So they're really intense uses, and S1 is more of like a service of you can have a CrossFit. That's kind of where we would put stuff like that.
Other questions? Comments?
May I?
Sure.
One suggestion that would help, and I think I asked the county a long time ago, and then, Mr. Driggers and I touched base on it, is because we don't like the dump trucks coming out, and we don't like the tractor and trailers coming out, because like when we exit our terminal, our facility there at SDI, because it is a hazard. So, we would be, no through trucks would be a big help for Mr. Ponder and the citizens of the non-city residents, but they're citizens, That would be a big help. That's just an unsolicited suggestion there.
Thanks. Council. Other questions?
Well, I assume there'll be pretty good restrictions about stormwater and noise and lighting, that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. It will go through a full civil review, so they will have to account for stormwater runoff. Lighting is a little bit different, so they will be able to have lighting on the area. The main thing that we have in our ordinance is the required screening It's that 6-foot buffer that they have to have, that opaque fence or landscaping around the property, just along the residential property. So right here, wrong button. Since this property is S1, they would not technically have to screen against that.
So 6 foot is our minimum requirement. What's our capacity to work to even increase that? I'm thinking about even, tractor trailers, something a little bit taller would be helpful potentially.
I believe that is something we're looking at with the UDO, is addressing that. Right now, the way the ordinance is written, 6 foot is the requirement. If they go above that's great, but 6 foot is the minimum standard they have to meet.
It could be, you're saying 6 foot fence, like the height of the fence, and then, so it could be, when we go down that UDO road, it could be that it's a 6 foot fence with some type of vegetation that's grown inside it, and that would give you, the height that would, in this scenario, that would block the trailers or the view for the neighbor next door. And obviously, I know we can't require that at this point.
Yes, sir.
Down the road is something to think about.
One more time.
Yes, sir.
Phil and I would be, typically what we do is we would plant the evergreens, the Leland cypress, and maybe some hollies that grow up and make a great line for the property. So.
It would all, of course, be all fenced in.
Of course, with the 6 foot buffer.
And is there access from Old 14 and Welcome?
There will be.
Be drive through?
I did have a chance to go out and look at the site, and it does seem consistent with the area. And if you look at the shaded map, it's just a reflection of the airport or Vern Smith. The parkway there is just inevitable for this area to continue to grow. And I know that it butts right up against residential, but it seems like these folks are trying to be good neighbors and trying to do the right thing the best they can by routing the traffic in the right direction and trying to have as minimal impact as possible on that area. I think what he recommended is a good suggestion and something we should look into to continue to keep more of that heavy traffic off that road for the sake of Mr. Ponder and all the other residents that live out there.
Yes, sir.
Any idea of how many tractor trailers would be stored or stored there at any time?
I hope a lot.
I mean, it's a lot, is that, how many is a lot? 1,000?
Probably, probably 50, maybe 100. But again, you said the key word, store.
And you're not talking about the tractors, you're talking about just the trailer.
Just the trailer.
Yeah. Well, this has to go to the planning commission. Mr. Ponder said that they really weren't against the annexation. So I'd like for at least to send it on to them. They may have some further questions that we haven't thought about. But I'm in favor of this first reading to get it to the planning commission. Let them look at it.
I would suggest that since we have spoken with the owners of the property and they are agreeable to the S1, that we would amend the ordinance to state S1 as opposed to I1 as we forward it to the planning commission for consideration. If that is what council chooses to do. Other questions?
So we need to amend the motion.
Yes, I think moving forward, since there has been a verbal agreement, is best. Your son is like bearing right straight down. I can hardly see you, right? I would suggest that this go to the planning commission with the recommendation from S1 for council. Would that be?
Yes, sir. That staff recommendation is to amend the ordinance to reflect S1.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion in regards to ordinance 18/2021? If not, I'll entertain a motion to amend the ordinance as written.
So move.
We already made a motion, right? We just need to amend the motion.
We need to amend
Who
the motion.
made the motion?
Sherwood made the motion.
He's at the amend his motion.
Yes.
I have Councilman Bettis making the motion.
I think Riley made the motion. Yeah, you're right. And Lee, you
I think I seconded it.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. You want to amend your motion?
I will amend my motion
I will amend
to
my-
reflect what the mayor said.
I will amend my second to adjust for the S1 versus I.
The amended motion is in support of the S1. Okay, are we all clear on that? This is for annexation with a recommendation of S1 for said property. Mine's clear? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Before we go on to the first reading of ordinance 19, let me back up one more time. While we have moved affirmatively on ordinance number 17, just by show of hand, if they are still here, is the owner or representative of the owner of that property with us this evening? No, excuse me, on 17, the one that was before that, the one on North Dawson.
Yes, sir, there is. About you raised your hand, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I've got everybody confused. This is the one on North Dobson Road. It was prior to y'all, okay. Okay. We will move on then to the first reading of ordinance number 19-2021. This is an ordinance providing for the annexation of properties owned by AHOP 143 LLC and Timberlake Properties LLC located on Buncombe Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification for I-1 for said property. Mr. McMahon.
Yes, sir. Staff is also recommending to amend this one to reflect the S1 zoning. These are the three parcels that are in question for the annexation. Again, here's the current zoning map. Here's the future land use map and the current street view. And as I stated, this will go to Planning Commission on April 19th for the public hearing for the requested S1 zoning. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, now we're back to number 19-2021. By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? All right, now we're all on board. All right, we'll move forward with that. I'll entertain a motion to receive. And a second.
Second.
Floor is now open for discussion.
We need to do the same thing with the.
We will need to amend this on the recommendation of staff, yes.
Amend my motion to reflect the zoning of S.
I will amend my second.
Motion and second reflects the amendment. Questions? Comments?
What's in that little piece of land that's going to be between all that now?
I believe currently right here is a residence, and there's a residence right here.
And the lift company is the next one over.
Yes, sir, the Nifty Lift Company is right here.
General discussion. Anything you gentlemen would like to add at this point? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Council, we have no items for executive session this evening.
That's your mind.
Stand adjourned.